Welcome to the show this week, episode 46, all about creating a compelling company culture this week. How the hell are you, Mr. Adam Snecki?
I'm doing okay, Mr. Simon Hampson. Thank you very much for asking. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. I think this whole Skype thing's rolling along all right, to be honest. It's
We're doing okay.
The sound quality is all right. We're not getting too many kind of drawn-out syllables or stuttering stops to the shows.
And I'm going to talk over you whether you're in a different room on the other side of the city or whether you're right in front of me. So it makes no difference.
So I can see you this time, so it's that bit better. You know?
Yeah, it's changed a little bit, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Although you're not looking at me directly in the eyes because it's this freaky. Now you are. Okay. Yeah, that got crazy.
I've always thought that the webcam should be placed on the side of the screen or something. I
don't know. We need like a teleprompter so that the other person's video is actually over the top of the camera.
Yeah.
And like your third eye could actually be the video camera. So this is not going to be working for anyone actually listening to this, but it's working for us.
So anyway, this week's news.
News, well, back from Bali. That was 3 weeks ago now.
Either that or you're doing a wonderful impersonation of being in a Melbourne house.
No, I'm actually not in Bali. It would be nice to be in Bali right now, but Bali was really bittersweet for me because I finally got over there. It was literally 18 months in the planning.
Mm.
We had 8 people participate. Scott, my business partner, came along and he super coached the whole way because I was actually sick most of the time I was there.
Oh, no. Okay.
Which is just insane. I mean, the problem with me is I just do too many things at once and I kind of I burn myself out, which is why we've had so much of a break from the podcast because the last 2 weeks I've just been like, well, Bali and then off to Wollongong for the CrossFit Games. And our gym placed 8th in Asia, which was nice. We wanted a top 10 finish this year. We got 8th and could have quite easily been top 5 if the cards had fallen differently. So very, very happy as a coach and owner of the gym. But, just no
so
rest.
What does 8th place mean for you guys?
Just that we're tracking where we want to be.
Yeah.
Because our gym was never designed to be elite sport of fitness. Like CrossFit's become this sport now.
Yeah.
And we never designed the gym to be about sports conditioning specifically like for CrossFit competition. So for us to place 8 against 20 other gyms who maybe 10 of them are really trying pretty hard to be athletically amazing, we're pretty happy with that.
That's pretty great stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, and there was a lot of talk afterwards that the team itself, and this is not from the coaches, this is from the athletes, they think they can qualify next year, which means a top 3 finish.
Yeah, so top 3 is qualifying to go over to States,
to the States, yeah, it's all held in I think it's all in California. So that's my goal was always top 10 this year, top 5 next year. So 2013 top 5, and then qualification or thereabouts ongoing after that.
Yeah.
But everyone's decided that we're going to accelerate it by a year and go for top 3 next year.
Nothing like a bit of burning ambition.
Well, aim high. What's the worst that can happen?
Oh, I agree.
We talk about that with business as well. So back to dear old woe is me. So I just got a little bit tired and I thought, bugger it, I need to cut back on a few things. So we took a week off the podcast. So 1 week in Bali, 1 week sick, and then 1 week, oh my God, I just need a break. Anyway, so logistics. Sorry, listeners, we are just, logistical problems, but we'll get back on track. Anyway, Simon came up with the topic for today's conversation, and I think it's pretty cool. So I might do my best not to butt in too much, and I'll just add bits and pieces here and there. But I think Simon's going to run with this one because he's got some really cool content.
Well, I think the subject of this week's episode is all about creating a compelling company culture, and I do think we're going to return to this again in the future on Simplify My Small Business because I suspect there'll be interview guests that we bring on who we talk to about this sort of stuff, and I suspect there'll be even more content that we come up with in the future from our own experiences and from the feedback that all of you out there give to us. But we've all done it. We've all gone to work on a day and we've felt like we don't want to be there. You've been that way, Adam. I've certainly been that way. Both in working for other people and both in working for myself and working for other people. So it's not a unique phenomenon to working for someone else. It's not like someone waves a magic wand and you suddenly start your own business and every day at work is hunky dory.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're the employer or the employee. That it can be tough to pull yourself out of bed sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. But what we're talking about this week is that it's really easy to let yourself just start rolling. You get the business coming in, you're going to work every day, you're doing the work, you're going on, But you got to stop for a second. You got to think about what culture you want your company to represent. You know, I saw a great post the other day online where a guy said, "I'm a designer. Should I wear I'm going up to the big end of town. Should I put on a suit?" That's not what I normally do. I don't wear a suit. And there were some answers saying, "Yeah, you got to put on a suit. Better to overdress than underdress." You know, no, don't wear a suit. You're better to represent your own values. Now, I probably fall more into the represent your own values and your own identity camp, as I think you probably do too, Adam.
Yep, I would agree with that.
But I know that there are occasions where you've got to dress up, you know.
Sorry, I'm talking over you again. I'm going to keep doing it.
Go on.
No, I was going to say that, yeah, I would say represent your own values, but if you're going to go and talk to a stuffy old boardroom full of old school dudes, then you need to maybe match them somewhat as well as represent yourself. So, interesting conundrum to be in.
I think it's actually only half of the story in a lot of ways, how you present yourself. It's what you're presenting too. You know, if you present with enough forcefulness and enough proof that you can do what you say you can and that you can back up what you're talking about, in a way, how you look's only about the first impression and about getting you in there. And part of my feedback for that guy was, well, you've already got the meeting. You know, if you were arguing for the meeting and you were meeting to get a meeting, then maybe you need to dress how they expect you to dress. But at the end of the day, if you've got a meeting to present to a client, then you can pretty much dress however you want as long as what you're presenting makes sense. So the first point that we wanted to make this week is you got to align your company culture with your strategic goals. You know, what are your strategic goals of your business, but also personally? You need to think about, how much time do I want to spend at work? How much time do I want to spend at home? How much time do I want to spend in business planning? And how much time do I want to spend actually doing? All of those things are gonna relate to your company culture, because you might say, okay, every Thursday is ideas day for my company. You know, Google, it's famous. Google give their employees a certain portion of their time to spend on whatever they like, any project that they so desire, and then another portion of their time they can spend on whatever project they desire, as long as it's related to Google. And that's where a lot of the beta things like Gmail have come out of, and all of that kind of stuff. So it's a fascinating kind of structure in a company. And a lot of you out there might be saying, oh, look, I'm only a small business. I've only got 2 or 3 people. How can I possibly offer my staff free time in a week that's already so overpacked? But something that we always practice at Gosh is that we offer our employees basically a development plan when they first start. Within a month of starting, we give them a development plan. Or give them is the wrong word. We work with them to create a development plan, and we ask them what they want to be in 5 years, where they want to be in the future, and how the company can help them achieve that. Because I think that one of the worst things as a company owner that you can do is to imagine that your staff have to stay with you, that they have to be there in 5 years, that it's a waste of time to work with someone otherwise. Because, you know, everyone has goals. You need to recognise that. So,
yeah, and on the gym side of things, it's quite a transient industry. So there's a lot of fear amongst gym owners and business owners and gym managers in terms of giving too much to employees, and I find that to be really strange. It just it kind of rubs me the wrong way to think that educating your employees or giving them good conditions or making them want to come to work is a bad thing. Like, why would you not give them everything that they should have to make their work day enjoyable and, you know, like maybe a bit mind expanding and educational? Why would you not do that? I mean,
yeah, totally.
The chances are they are going to go somewhere else one day, but when they go to somewhere else, if you've treated them really well, they're still going to speak well of you. You know, there's nothing like the bad smell of that employee who leaves because you just treated them like crap. Because everyone's going to know, more people are going to know that.
And I think you wrote this line in the notes for this episode. Your personal values will ultimately define your company's cultural root. So, you know, if you're blasé about it, if you don't think about these things, about what is the culture of my company, then it is going to define completely what your company's about. And a lot of the time that will be chasing your tail. So,
yeah, and there's something that's really important here that doesn't get spoken of a lot when people are talking about defining the culture of the company, because if there's a one person up the top, or there's 1 or 2 or 3 people up the top who are trying to define that culture, unless they communicate that clearly to everyone who comes in, it is not going to permeate through.
Exactly.
And you might find that you have a very strong person within your group of employees, and all of a sudden he's the person or she's the person to follow. And then your culture becomes about that person's values rather than the owner's values.
Yeah.
So if you're not clear about where you want to take the company and what your ultimate goals are and what your vision is for the business, the employees, the owners, the customers, the whole thing associated with that business, then there's going to be a lot of trouble. I mean, there's no use getting worried about saying too much. Like, I'm very open about how much money I want to make, how many members I want, what I want to do with the gym, how I want to expand it, what kind of people I want around.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not, then no one knows why I'm doing certain things. Why did Adam make that decision? Well, Adam made that decision because he's trying to take the business to that point.
To that level, yeah. Adam sees the business being here, not here. Yeah.
And
exactly.
that's also important to discuss with your partners because, we've just... my two business partners and myself have just had this discussion that we're all heading in the general same direction, but it's kind of like we're like sailing boats on the water and we're just tacking left and right. So whilst we're heading in generally the same direction, sometimes we're going slightly off center. But that's the way it happens. It's like it's like a thermostat. It goes up and down. It never goes straight as a die. So it's really important that everyone knows, not just your employees, but your partners and even your clients, your members, your customers.
And it takes constant revision, The next thing we wanted to talk about is office design.
And quite an interesting, or even warehouse design, or shop design, or whatever space that you interact with your customers. It might even be your website design. It's all intrinsic to the culture of the company.
Exactly. Do you have an open or a closed office, and why are you choosing a certain design in your office? Gosh, we just got 2 half-size shipping containers into our warehouse space to use as office blocks, basically as office sort of space and as a conference room, and it just fits that kind of warehouse factory aesthetic of where we move into perfectly. Yeah. And segments the space. So that's great. And
that feel that you create again is going to allow people within that immediate environment to understand what you're trying to achieve, because you're setting the environment, you're setting the stage for what you want to achieve. Like one of the things that we're doing at the gym at the moment, we are now in a sub warehouse, a unit in Fitzroy, and it's one of those ones that unfortunately just has a very dodgy little toilet block down in the back corner, because it was only ever made for people in the warehouse just to go and relieve themselves. It's not meant to be for public use.
Ours is exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly right. So that might work for you guys at the moment if it's just you and whomever work there. But in the gym, we've got clients who have to use those toilets, and people have been asking for showers. So we're in the process now of trying to work out how to put a shower in and how to fit it all out and not... it's logistically almost impossible. But my point is, I've been using the term, I want us to look professional now.
Yeah.
So whilst we want to have this kind of raw underground warehouse fitness gym feel, when it comes to the amenities, they still need to be professional.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, for us at Gosh, we just installed a sort of Chinese prefab shower, and that was enough. I mean, when I go for a run at Princess Park, I can come back and I know that I can have a shower at the office now. But I mean, for you guys, it's about keeping the gym sort of members happy. Hey, how do you feel about this? Sound at the office.
Let's be honest. They don't. Our members do not want a sparkling, pristine shower that's like Italian marble and all that stuff. They just want a functional shower, but it can't look like it was created by a drunken, factory worker.
I'd love to see an Italian marble shower at a CrossFit gym. I really would. So the next point, sound in their office. We keep the radio on most of the day at Gosh and at Crown Pro. I mean, we like to fill the space with a bit of noise, and partly that's a product of being in a fairly high ceilinged kind of warehouse space, but it's mostly about liking to work to that sort of sound. But I know a lot of people don't like it, and it can also be quite difficult if the volume of the noise or the sort of sound, the music is a certain volume, and someone sort of gets on the phone and can't reach the volume knob or the off switch.
Yeah, so these all the points that we're talking about at the moment are kind of like the feeling of the space.
Mm.
I had a really interesting experience today. I walked into my mate owns a hairdressing salon on Brunswick Street, and normally the music there is very poppy and upbeat and quite modern. And today when I walked in, it was really low key and soft,
Wow.
and I actually liked it more. It was really amazing. There was I felt it had a more professional feel about the salon. There were fewer people in there, so maybe that added to it. It wasn't a buzzing salon. There weren't like 10 people getting their hair done and 5 stylists running around like crazy people.
Right.
There were only a couple of clients, but everyone who was working there still had something to do. But it just seemed so much more relaxed. It didn't seem rushed and hurried. And I was thinking, geez, this got a really good feel about it today. I'm actually going to have a chat to my friend, which I haven't had a chance to do yet. But it's amazing. Like, you bringing up sound and music and all this kind of stuff has a very different effect. It was almost like being in a different salon.
I've got some good friends who are acoustic ecologists who actually design sound. They brought in to consult on architectural projects, and they talk about how sound functions in the spaces, and it's an absolutely fascinating area of skill set for me.
Yeah.
I love it. The next point that I made, you kind of queried me when I put this down. Do your employees feel trapped? Now, what I mean by this is, you don't want your employees to come to work and feel like they're sitting in a cubicle and they can't get out of the cubicle between 9 and 5, and that's it. And then they've got to go home and stew over the fact that they couldn't get out of their cubicle between 9 and 5.
Where is my freedom?
Where is my freedom,
Yeah.
We often talk in the office about, look, turn off your mobiles, or, don't be on Facebook every 5 minutes. But at a point, you kind of, you hit a wall of making employees feel trapped in your office, Yes, there's productivity gains from saying turn those things off or don't access those sort of social media sites during your work hours, but maybe there's a happy balance of saying, at lunchtime, go for your life. Do what you want. You can feel free to use your computer to jump onto those sites.
When you break it down, I think this is all about treating your staff like they're adults.
Mm.
Like, if they're going to take the piss, they're going to take the piss, and then you're going to just have to have a chat. But most people, if they're doing meaningful work and they actually want to contribute, they're not going to waste time. Like, they might just need to zone out for 5 minutes. So they might go check their Facebook feed or Twitter or check their email or whatever, make a phone call to home to make sure that the dog hasn't eaten someone's homework, And that's cool, because people have still got lives. You can't cut them off from their lives when they're at work.
I agree, and in my experience, it's a case by case. Very much a case-by-case basis. You need to give people the benefit of the doubt and then see how they kind of handle the freedom.
Yeah, I would agree completely.
And a few points under this, make sure your employees know that you care about them and you appreciate them. And I think that kind of comes through in terms of what I was talking about before with it. Gosh, we offer our employees a sort of development plan. But further to that, I think we generally have conversations each week around their well-being. You want to foster a really comfortable and healthy, friendly relationship with your employees, as well as being their boss and the owner of a business. And, you got to ask the question, do your employees want to be part of your business? Are they just coming to get a wage, or do they actually want to be part of the business?
Yeah, because you want people to buy in.
Well, you do. You want people to buy in, yeah. And a great kind of line that I heard years ago was, as a business owner or as a CEO, your job is to communicate the direction of the company to every single employee in the chain. To tell them where they fit in the company vision, or to translate that company vision to something that means something to them. And I think that's a really important thing to remember, is to say, like you were saying, you want the gym to look professional. So how do you communicate that to your coaches? How do you communicate that to your business partners and your employees? So, and last but very not least, listen.
We come up with this one all the time, don't we?
We do.
That's pretty important. I don't think we need to dwell on that. It's a pretty obvious one.
Yeah, now, go on.
I was going to say, I like the next point that you wanted to make about the culture of education. And this is where a lot of small business owners especially, you don't see this so much in big business, but in small business, the knickers get twisted. Because people don't want to spend money on education, and they don't have an education plan. They are loath to train their staff because their staff might take those skills elsewhere and go and work for someone else. So this is a great one to talk around for a little while.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got one of our employees on AdWords training now, Google AdWords training, and Google kind of the suite of all of the tools that Google offer online. And that costs us money to put them through those things, but there's a benefit to the business too, in that the business earns accredited status with Google after you have a certain number of employees trained up within their program. So, that's a kind of give and take, I guess, of training and education. But a point that you've put down is who pays. Well, I like to invest in my staff, and I'd hope that other business owners do too.
Exactly.
It makes sense, doesn't it?
And sometimes if it's a course that might be ridiculously expensive, you can come to some kind of arrangement with your staff if they really want to do it. I mean, it's one of those fine lines. Like if there is a skill set that someone needs who is already working for you and you need them to have it, then you should be paying for it. But if they're asking for further education that can help them generally, but it will also help the business, then there might be a discussion to be had.
Yeah, where you can kick in a bit. And
exactly.
Help out, Yeah.
Yeah, so, and smaller businesses might not have a chance to do it, but it could be something like, let's say the course is in Sydney. Well, maybe pay for the flights or pay for the accommodation or work something out.
Time off,
work something out.
In kind.
Or pay them the full day of pay to be on the training. Look, there are things that can be done. It doesn't have to be throw down thousands of dollars or whatever it may be.
Well, and I think one of the things that we do in our development plan is we look at what's, we list everything, all the kind of wish list and where the direction that the employee wants to take, and then the business needs out of the role, and then we look at stacking importance. What sort of comes at the top of the list in terms of most important for the business, and then hopefully after that you can stack something that they're personally interested in. So you kind of get that. Okay, I'm looking forward to the next level of training being product X that I really want to learn about, but first I need to get through this stuff that'll benefit the business. So it's a bit of give take again. So, but I think the last point on this one, it comes back to what you said at the start. Are you afraid to educate because they might leave? Don't be.
Yeah, exactly right. You can't be. Like, if you live in that world of fear that by giving you'll lose, then you're in trouble. You just got to keep giving. Eventually it comes back to you.
So what other parts of culture are compelling? I think an open culture is really compelling, isn't it?
Well, the world these days is opening up more and more.
Yeah, we're talking about the age of transparency, aren't we?
Yeah, and it would be really amazing to have a very closed culture in a business these days. I couldn't, especially in a small business or a startup, I couldn't see how it would work. And I don't know if anyone listening can give me an example of how that is or has or will work. I'd be really interested to actually know it, because I can't conceive of it. I've been thinking of, when you put this point down and I read it through the notes, it's like, I just can't even see how a closed culture could possibly work. Like, if you can't have a chance to contribute as an employee, if you can't question, if you can't understand what's going on, if you're just following like a sheep, then there's not many people who want to do that these days.
No. And I think the really important part of this is making your employees and the people who work within your business and work with your business, even customers, feel like they're being heard. You don't necessarily have to adopt everything people say. I mean, there's some people you walk up to and they're like, no, you have to be hard ass and you are the boss and that's it. That's fine. I understand where they're coming from. But at a point, it's nice to let people know that their kind of opinions are heard, that they have a chance to maybe vent a little bit about something that went wrong during the month or some way that they would prefer things to work, and ultimately empower them,
Yeah, they should be allowed to and encouraged to make suggestions, even to be critical where it's required. They shouldn't live in this world of, look, I've got all these great ideas, but I've got no way of telling them. There's gold with a lot of employees. The gym, my virtual assistants, just about everyone I work with who I might be a boss of, for want of a better word, seems to have better ideas than I have, or at least a good input to an idea I've had that makes that idea more workable. So there's a lot there.
I mean, we talk about it a lot. It doesn't cost you anything, does it?
Well, it doesn't cost any more for that employee to give you a suggestion. But the next point we're going to talk about was supporting innovation. And I know I made a point that if someone has an idea and it's an innovative idea and it in turn results in the business making a lot of money, then you might look at a bonus for that idea. Obviously you can say thank you, but you can throw some cash back at them.
There's a great story I heard years ago about General Electric GE, who put out a survey to all of their staff, and they said, look, are there any ways that you guys think we can save time or save money, anything that you think that within your role you can see that we can do better? One of the women who worked on their production line came back to them and said, look, by doing X, Y, instead of doing it in this order, we can do it in this order and we can cut out that. She went back with a suggestion and it was eventually approved. And she saved the company $500 million a year. Now,
wow.
The woman was thanked. I mean, she didn't get a lot for it. But the point is that by just one simple question, one simple form of saying, hey, what do you think we can do better? They empowered someone to say, hey, I've been doing this for the last 5 years. We could kind of do that a little bit better. You know what? They treated her like an expert, and that's what she is and was. She was an absolute expert in what she did, much, much more than anyone in management or anyone who comes along and as a consultant and someone brings in to say, you know, give us some more efficiency in this area of the plant. The person working there is the expert.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just like your employees. If you go and ask them and say, what delays you in your day, what things about your day really drag you down, then you can get some decent feedback to improve your business. Hey, I'm going to fall on my sword now with our next point and admit that, gosh, our knowledge management wasn't as good as it could have been at the start.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's probably caused more pain over the last 6 months than a lot of other things, actually, is the way we've stored our knowledge, the way we've shared knowledge between my business partner and I.
So are we talking about process documents? Are we talking
process
about
documentation, yeah.
manuals and operations and all that kind of stuff?
Simple things like where you even say files. Those sorts of things are essential to decide.
Turn up at Gosh and they have to make it up for themselves.
Well, but to be fair, this has actually given our new employees this year a really nice sense of creating some areas of the company for themselves.
Okay.
And one of our downfalls, and I think you probably will agree with this as entrepreneurs, is that we tend to get into the ideas.
Oh, yeah, do we?
You know, we do.
Yes.
The organisation, we might be organised people, you and I, which we are, but the organisation of the ideas, a little bit more shaky, Mr. Sneaky.
Yeah, so, you know what? I've got a dirty little secret to share here as well.
Yeah.
I reckon I've written about 4 operation manuals for the gym.
Yes.
My problem is not the operations. My problem is getting the procedures followed. Now, of late, working very well. So my little input to this whole thing is, you know, if we've got knowledge managed, we have to be somewhat flexible about the procedures as well. Like, it's good to put an idea of what's supposed to go in and what's supposed to come out the other end. But in the end, the people that are actually doing that stuff, it goes back to the last point we were talking about, the GE story. You know, we've got to allow the people to maybe modify it a little bit to make it smoother. Because as long as the result's there and we can measure it, then we're okay.
We're okay, aren't we?
Yeah. So don't be a Nazi about it, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, we're moving on to point number 8, which is the final point. The intangibles.
The intangibles sounds like a Hollywood movie.
Could be another. I'm thinking a cartoon, like a Disney kind of Pixar animation cartoon.
I was thinking more like the Expendables.
You were going Arnie and
I was going Arnie, and
Sylvester. And anyway, the intangibles. So this is just a few things I added to the end because I thought if you want this culture to stick, then you've got to lead from the front. Number 1, like if you are the guy or the girl, then you can't put forth all these wonderful ideals and then not stick to any of them yourself.
Correct.
So lead from the front. And number 2, this is a really important one: never lay blame. Right. So you can have a talk to someone if something goes wrong, but it's not about blaming them because that's going to be there cannot be a positive outcome for that.
Here's an interesting thing. How do you set the frame? Because I think it's really important in those contexts to set a good frame around those conversations you have with staff, because you can't really control the way people will receive what you say.
No.
So you need to set the context, don't you?
You can control the way you say it.
Exactly, yeah. But I think the context
and most people who know me personally will understand that I am bluntly honest all the time, and that does not always work. It doesn't. Like, everyone knows I'm always honest. It's just that quite often pick my words very, very badly, or I don't actually pick my words. There is an issue there. But what I'm trying to say is, if we just get back to blame, you can explain to someone that they've done something incorrect, and here's how we can fix it, or you can ask them to come back with a solution. But you don't have to say, you messed up, it's all your fault, because ultimately, as the boss, you dictated what was supposed to happen in that role. You had something to do with developing the process. The blame lays at your feet if you are standing at the top. It's no one else's fault. It's your fault. So never lay blame.
Take responsibility for changing it, yeah.
Correct. Ultimate responsibility is at the top.
I'm a big one for this last one. Look for the positive in every situation. I really believe in the possibility that the world has, and I think that you've got to say, okay, yeah, went wrong. Let's fix it.
Yeah, let's learn from it. Or whatever the case may be, because everything's about a choice, isn't it? Like, it goes wrong in small businesses all the time.
It does.
And you can let it get you down. You can get pissed off. You can get negative about the whole thing. You can think the world's out to get you. You know, everyone again me. They all want to see me fail. There's no entitlement in the world of business that says you should succeed. You know, just by turning up doesn't mean you're going to succeed. I mean, it's a big part of it. You just got to keep on trucking. So if something happens that ain't quite right, but you can put a positive spin on it, you can get something out of it. The people around you can tell when stuff's going wrong or when you're in a negative spiral. But if you keep putting out positive vibes, even if stuff goes wrong, they know that you're pushing stuff in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the negativity is not about them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or the business. Now, there's a bit of more technical stuff that we'll include in the show notes this week. Florence Clecorne's value orientation model and all of this sort of stuff. I think that is quite interesting reading if you're thinking about your company culture. But you got to remember, all of this will evolve over time. You know, it's all very good having a flowery, worded statement of company values. We will do this, we will do that. But it's no good unless you put it into action and you look at how it works day to day.
Yeah.
I guess that's the message we want you to take away.
Yeah, and it literally it's going to take longer than the 12 months. So most people think, 3 months we'll get it done. You can't even work out how to tie your shoelaces in a business in 3 months. I'm sorry. Culture takes 2, 3, 4 years. It really does. Like, you can start to see it budding early on, but for it to really grow some traction and get a life of its own, you're talking years.
Absolutely. And you're talking about, you know, who's working for you and that kind of thing, and how they kind of shape the values and how they enter the company and add to them. So now we don't have a quote, do we?
That doesn't matter. We've talked long enough.
Oh,
you know what we could do? Let's do something here. Let's do some marketing genius stuff. We are going to put a quote on the website for this episode. And if you have listened and enjoyed the episode, you will need to go to the website to see what the quote is.
You are good, sir. Thank you very much for your company again this week. Simplify My Small Business, episode 46, all about creating a compelling company culture. Drop us an email, go to the website, drop us a comment, share this
Get on
with friends.
Facebook, get on Twitter. Show us some social love.
Show us some love. And we will catch you again next week for episode 47.